Happy New Year 2010 from eDrumSessions.com. I'm recording engineer Ty Longley here to speak to you about drum track processing. Today we're going to talk about gating. So what is gating? Gating is essentially silencing parts. Gating is essentially silencing audio that is no. What is gating? Gating is essentially silencing parts of audio that you really don't want in your track, i.e. bleed from a hi-hat, bleed from a ringing tom that's howling when it's not being hit, things like that. There are a couple ways you can do this. One is hardware, which is my preference. I think it sounds a little better than software in most cases. But a good plug-in will work as well. Another way you can do this is you can actually just, via automation, just draw down the volume. Some guys prefer this to just true hard gating because it seems to impart a more natural feel to the drum track without actually killing the vibe and without allowing too much bleed to come through. So why would you do it that way? Well, or how would you do it? You could essentially just draw in between the hits. Let's say in between a floor tom hit, between the two hits, you'll just essentially just draw the automation, bring it down maybe 6 to 10, maybe 12 dB, so that you can still feel it, you can still kind of sense it, but when that next tom hit comes in, it doesn't jump out of nothing. So a lot of guys prefer that kind of method as well to a solid gate.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Then it's kind of a compromise between what you need to do for your mixing purposes as opposed to what sounds the most natural. Of course, toms ringing when you hit the bass drum is a natural part of drum sounds, correct?
Absolutely. When you gate a track, you're essentially stripping away all the unnecessary stuff. But at the same time, you run the risk of actually killing the vibe of the drum track because, a drum set being played by a real drummer in a real room is going to ring. So some productions would, you lean towards that and you kind of want the stuff ringing around. It's kind of all the nasty little hums and bits and pieces. You want that in there because it adds to the vibe.
And that's stylistic too.
That's a stylistic thing, right? You wanna do what's right for the song. So essentially, if they're gonna gate a drum track, you're gonna produce a punchy, clean drum track. Great for modern rock, great for fusion, R&B. That's all gonna have a gated type sound. Some bombastic rock, some jazz, country, some things that are old country. You're gonna have more stuff ringing around, and it's kind of nice, especially if you have a nice room. You're gonna want to hear some of that stuff howling around in the background. So again, it's a stylistic thing. Do what's right for the music. Use your ears. That's number one, first and foremost. So the main thing with gating is, it's going to be completely dependent upon the style of music you're going for and the aesthetic. There's no right or wrong. Some guys feel that gating chokes down the drum set and kills the vibe. Other guys say, hey, you know what, I want all that extra stuff out of the way because I want to make room for the guitars and for the vocals and for the reverb and for everything else that you got going on in the mix. So, with all that said, join us next time for our next installment on compression. Happy New Year 2010 from eDrumSessions.com. Take care.